there arose tensions that caused a divide. And as a result of the divide, they found themselves in a position of condition where their hearts were longing to be with one another, although they realized it was inappropriate or not conducive for them to be one another. And then eventually in the song, they get to a place where they realize that the issue that divided them was not worth dividing them. So they decided to get back together. And when they got back together, they realized that the love that they had was greater than any issues that might have arisen. And so they culminated the moment by saying, reunited, and it feels so good. I need you to know that in this opening text, we're talking about Jesus, whose words are being used as he's trying to comfort the people that he's come to love and develop a strong bonding relationship with. He's talking to his disciples, and listen, one of the things I need you all to understand, let me ask you all this question. It's a trick question. Put that out in front. How many of you in here are members of a church? Raise your hands. Put your hands down. That is not something that you want to be known as. See, you were never designed by way of God's design, who his greatest design is the person of Christ. And Christ never came so that he might establish a church that you could become a member of. As a matter of fact, if you're not being taught appropriately, then you would misconstrue that standing in a church. We're not standing in a church. We're standing in a building where churches come together in fellowship. Jesus, I'm over some people here. Listen, we are the church. When Jesus stood standing at that cavernous place where, and as he was telling Peter, based upon the revelation that Jesus realized that this man received that came only from heaven, because Jesus asked the question, who do men say I am? And then the Bible said that they related him to some of the old prophets resurrected or brought back to life. And then Jesus said, but who do you say I am? And Peter, in his rambunctious and I would say instinctive manner in which he always operated, one who never really, see, one thing I love about Peter, I love his impulsive nature. Peter was impulsive enough to say this. At the moment something hit him, he moved and reacted on it. So Peter, who was the one who, when they were on the boat afraid, and they saw this figure on the water and they thought it was a ghost, when they said, who are you? And Jesus said, it's me, Jesus, your master. He said, well, if it's you, bid me come. And Jesus said, come. And Peter didn't consider the conditions, because Peter believed instantly that if this is my master, I can go to him. But what happened to Peter is what happens to impulsive people. See, although it's good, it's also bad. Peter, who moved on instinct and impulse, stepped out on water. He didn't. He stepped out on faith. He stepped out on the word. And if you don't know anything, we find that to be one of the most mind-boggling things that ever occurred in the Bible, that a man could actually walk on water. But if you really know that you know, and in that dark and void space, there was something peculiar that was happening and transpiring. Yes, I can't do that. But when I move by way of the Spirit, y'all always say these words. I'm going to quote it for you. I'm going to start it. You can finish it. I can do, hold up, so why we can't walk on water? See, it is only through Christ, who was the one who Peter saw hovering above, that he was able, since he kept his eyes on Christ, to do it for lost sight. He took his eyes off the one who enabled him to do it. And so therefore, he stumbled and fell, and he started sinking, and Jesus grabbed him. Now fast forward back to the point I'm talking about as it pertains to the church. Jesus is now at a critical juncture in his life where it is time for him to fulfill his passion. And so he asked his disciples, and his disciples said, you're like Isaiah and Jeremiah and one of the old prophets. But when it came to him saying, but who do you say I am? Peter said, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. See, he didn't say thou art Jesus. Isaiah 9:6 says, unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. Two different entities coming together to form one purpose. One person so that he can fulfill one purpose. The child that's born is Mary's fleshly child, whose name is Jesus. The son that's given is the Spirit of Christ come to conjoin with him so that he might accomplish all the miraculous things that we read about he did. And so Peter didn't say you're Jesus, because the town people recognized Jesus as the carpenter's son. So he spoke to the spiritual component of who it is that he was dealing with. And Jesus says, now these boys got it. And he immediately, since he realized that God no longer needed to use him to give understanding to revelatory things that were taking place, he now starts telling Peter, it's time for me to go. I'm about to be forsaken. I'm going to be brought into captivity. I'm going to be put to death. And 7 verses later, after Jesus told Peter, flesh and blood didn't reveal that to you, but my Father which is in heaven, he says, so now upon this rock, this revelation that escaped your lips, that was poured into your heart by way of the Spirit, now I'm going to build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail. He wasn't talking about people. Y'all seen this before. A dude to be outside walking and smoking and drinking. Don't act like y'all don't know them kind of people. Some of y'all are them kind of people. But right before they get to a church, what do? They'll either pull it out or they'll stop until they finish, because they don't want to walk across the threshold of that building. Jesus was not talking about these buildings. He was talking about we as people. And he stood in a cavernous area in a valley where there was a hole that went deep into the mountain. And the people in that region said that that's the gates of hell. That when you go in there, all type of wicked spirits and all type of wicked things take place. And so Jesus was making a bold proclamation that, listen, I'm standing in Satan's domain, and I'm making a strong proclamation pertaining to you if you become one with me. That Satan and all his imps and devices will not be able to prevail against you, not this building. If you don't understand this one thing, COVID proved what the true church is. Over America, a third of the church buildings shut down. See, what has transpired is many of you all have become accustomed to what's called what I call the industry of ministry, where you gather so that you can continue to support a corporation-like entity so that it could remain in existence. But true pastors, true churches, true believers understand that the value of ministry lies in each individual that gathers in there. And it's our responsibility to help get you to the place where you come to know that you are the apple of his eye. Now listen, if you don't know anything about what I'm talking about, Jesus was telling his church, not his disciples, that I'm going to prepare a place so that where I am, you may be also. Jewish tradition, and if you don't understand Jewish tradition, you'll get a whole lot of the Bible misconstrued, because it literally is a book written to the people of that culture by way of the one who established an everlasting covenant with the one who they came from. So in Jewish tradition and custom, listen to what happens. I come to your house, I fall in love with your daughter. I tell you I want to marry your daughter. You tell me, okay, this is what is required for you to get the hand of my daughter. Daughters, let me help you understand something. You have no say in the matter. Your dad and your mom choose who your husband will be. Jewish custom. Your husband has to come and show your parents that he's capable or able of supplying for you in the same manner in which they supplied or provided for you. So in the Jewish culture, there's this thing called a morah, M-O-R-A-H. And what it is it is similar to a dowry, but from a different perspective. A dowry is what a man pays to a family to acquire his a daughter. In this instance, it's what he pays to the daughter, who gives it to her parents to make provision for what they will be losing when she is no longer a part of their household, but another's. Once that's established, the next thing that they put in order is called a ketubah. It's K-E-T-U-B-A-H. Look it up and study it for yourself. It literally is a covenant or marriage contract. It is written in such that it's given to the family of the bride to hold until the ceremony takes place, so that if this man doesn't come back to get my daughter, we can sue the family of the man who wrote and didn't honor this contract. Y'all following me? So now here it is. What the young man who signs the ketubah and pays the morah does is he leaves his espoused. And if you don't know what an espousal is, it's deeper than a fiancé. An espousal is something that takes place once those two things are in order. He is now tied to you, and you are now tied to him. By law, you will break the law if you go marry somebody else, or if she takes in another. You are considered married, just the ceremony didn't take place. Now, why is all that important? Because here in John 14, Jesus is talking to his bride. What the young man does after the contract is written and established is this. He leaves her with her parents. He goes back to his father's house. Guess what he does? He builds an addition to his father's house that's suitable for him and his wife to now live in. And then once that is finished and is done to her specifications, guess what he now does? He goes back to her father's house, and he takes her from her father's house and brings him to his father's house, so that where he is, she will be also. Y'all still not with me yet. Y'all coming though. In November, I had the honor to eulogize a man by the name of Harold, who I related to Joseph. I told you all, if you were present at that time, that all of our lives are peculiarly found in scriptures, because if nothing else, we are all recurring spirits. So I told you then, a fast young lady who's walking up the street and giving herself to everyone. People in the church will always say, she's a Jezebel. Jezebel been dead. Why do we continue to use the name? Because of the behavior, the spiritual behavior. So now, I talked about Joseph, Mr. Harold, coming into the life of a woman who had children. And he accepted the assignment of the responsibility in such a way that he covered her, and you couldn't tell the difference between him and them. At one point, I'm sure I joked about it in a message, how I'm sure that there was a lot of kickback. Can you imagine how many times those children told that man, you ain't my daddy? Yet that man didn't care about what they said, because that man had acquired a bride. And everything that came with that bride came to him. And he didn't just love her, he loved them as though they were his own. If you can recall, that specifically happened to Joseph when Joseph was espoused to this woman named Mary. And Mary, all of a sudden, comes up pregnant. And Joseph, in his natural mindset, I'm sure wanted to say, bye, see you later. You're no good, you're nothing but a Jezebel. But the Lord interrupted Joseph's plans and told him, this is from me. And I need you to cover her so that that which is from me can have the covering or the protection that he will need until he develops to the point where he can fulfill his destiny. And we talked about how Joseph did just that. And he did it so seamlessly that there was a time when Mary, who, if anybody else knew who the daddy was, Mary knew. Because she received a visit from an angel who told her, you have been chosen to become impregnated by the creator of all creations. And she said, be it unto me. Now, here it is. Mary, who knows who that boy is for, tells Jesus, after they've journeyed away and Jesus stayed back in the temple, and after they were a day's journey away, they realize he's not with us. They turn to go back, and they find him in the temple. Here's the flippancy of Jesus. Mary, when she finally catches up to her son, she asks him, why did you do this and trouble me and your father so? Y'all heard that? And what did Jesus say? Did you not know that I would be about my father's business? But it was well known in the region that his father, his earthly father's business, was carpentry. So Jesus was looking his mama dead in the eyes and telling Joseph, I know what you did, bro. But on the same note, I'm acknowledging my real daddy. It would have been easy for me as Joseph to bounce. I'm just telling you, thank God for Christ that I wasn't chosen for that assignment. Because I would have said, I've had enough of this flippancy from this kid. I'm out of here. I can't take any more of this disrespect. But Joseph stood in there. And listen, it's the amazing thing for me, 124 days later, from his funeral to hers, I'm here talking, and I always like to do these name searches. Find out what the name meant. because it's important that we understand what is the first proclamation or authorization that has been released over our lives. The most powerful weapon ever created is spelled like this: W-O-R-D. It is the very means by which God created everything. Then he messed around and made us in his image and his likeness. And he said, now that which I do, you can do. So now when we open our mouths, we give authorization to whatever comes forward. So when you're going around calling your child dumb, stupid, no good, guess what happens? Spiritual forces hear that. And now they know they can go back and tell God that his parent, his mother, his brother, his cousin, those who love him have given us authorization to produce that which has been proclaimed over their lives. We never consider the names that we're giving these children. We come up with these fancy names with apostrophes and hyphens and exclamation marks in them that even God don't know the meaning of. It's like speaking in tongues. Very few people. But I need you to know, listen, Ethel May, this was amazing to me. Ethel means noble maiden. May means beloved and bitter. Guess what Mary means? Beloved. Guess what the Bible calls her in Luke, the first chapter? A maiden. Y'all still ain't with me yet. I talked about Mr. Harold from a perspective of being Joseph. I come to find out Ethel May is Mary. And let me show y'all how she's so much like Mary. There was a time when Mary's family was throwing this extravagant bonanza. And they ran upon a situation that could be embarrassing to the lineage or the family's name. The situation was they were lacking in wine. And so she ran up to her son, told y'all about the flippancy of Christ, right? She goes to her son, who she knows who he is, and she says to him, we're out of wine. Could you do something about it? Jesus called her woman. He said, woman, my time has not yet come. Mary didn't even pay attention to what he said. Mary looked to his servants, and she told them, whatever he says do, you do it. Jesus looks at her. I'm sure he looked at her like, man, I'm sick of her. But on the same note, y'all go gather some pots, put some water in it, and bring it in there. First miracle that's recorded of his ministry. Why is that important? If you knew anything about Ethel May, she loved being at a party. So here Mary is at this party, doing the latest bus stop line dance, everything going on, and somebody come to Mary and they say, Mary, girl, we running short on the good stuff. And Mary said, well, baby, hold up, don't end the party yet. Because y'all know how Ethel May was, right? I didn't know, I came to know through testimony that whenever there was an opportunity for family to gather together, she was specific about doing it at her house. Why? Because if she did it at somebody else's house, they might say, girl, we can get together for 2 hours and that's it. And the party gonna go from 1 to 3. But Ethel May said, listen, as long as they're willing to party, we willing to host. And so the worst thing that could happen to a person like Ethel May is to gather all these people at her house and to run out of stuff. That's why they put Swagman out of business. See, y'all in here laughing, but we constantly losing businesses because of theft. Let's call it what it is. Bonnie and Clyde type action. And I feel sorry for the poor lady at the cash register. She was, girl, I just did it twice. How many more times you want to do? Come on, y'all, hurry up. Now, don't come back through here. Then all of a sudden, she come through with braids. And it's like, hold up, are you serious? My phone's talking to me. Don't talk to me, I don't want to hear you. Listen, Ethel had the same mentality that Mary had. Let's have fun, but let's do it in decency and in order. And although Ethel, I've been told, might sip, she didn't drink to the point of drunkenness. And that's important, because a lot of believers don't believe that they can have wine. When at the real first communion, that was wine. Matter of fact, if you want to know what type of wine it was, I can't believe that it was didn't have the same type of qualities as the wine that Jesus made. Because when he made wine, guess what the Bible said? That when they brought the wine into the place and they tasted it, the guy who was responsible for making sure that the wine was up to par, when he tasted it, he said, what manner of madness is this? And they said, what do you mean? He said, is it not our custom that when we give wine to people, that we give them the strong stuff first? And then when they get drunk and they don't know what they're drinking, we can give them Kool-Aid and call it wine. They say, yes, it is. They say, well, why did you save the strongest for last? Listen, y'all, I'm telling you, God has never been against a party. Shut this thing up. I'm telling you, when you understand that, then you can understand why it's imperative that we begin to live our lives as Christians, like Ethel. The young people got this saying, they say, YOLO. What does it mean? You only live once. And every life is only still here because of the grace of God. Now, I believe in this. I believe that everything that we do, we must do it in decency and in order. But on the same note, we don't have to become so pious as believers to the point where we no longer gather with family and have a good time. See, my light amongst my family, let me tell y'all this secret. Am I being on live? If I'm on live, my family coming in, tell y'all he ain't lying. Whenever my family gathers for whatever purpose and reason, I'm going to be the person who's the loudest, the most rambunctious. I'm on the dance floor the longest. I'm drinking, but only Kool-Aid because I can't handle alcohol in no form. But on the same note, by the time we leave, there has been an indelible imprint left on the fabric of their lives because we took advantage of the one most valuable thing that we have in life. It's time to be shared and spent with one another so that we can walk away with memories that when one day we're lying before a congregation of people and people are talking, they can say, what about this time? See, I heard about Abbeville, the country family, and people who look forward to the city folk coming over. I heard how often they would drive and take that drive and go just to enjoy and have fun with family. And this is the saddest thing for me that I observe every time at a funeral. It's only at funerals do we implore one another to stay in touch with one another. We have to stop that. Now, just before I take my seat, let me talk about this group that all y'all know. All of y'all know. They had a group that Sanford and Son, Fred Sanford, used to love. And he called them the 3 Degrees. The 3 Degrees was a real R&B group that they could really sing, but they were always together. Well, in Ethel's life, she had what I call the 3 J's. John, Jean, and Jocelyn. Some say tomato, some say tomato. But these people enjoyed life in such a way throughout the annals of time that they developed the type of bond and relationship that when it's all said and done, it's legendary. Now here's the amazing thing for me. They were losing the lucidity or the ability to move and flow freely because they were getting up in age. They couldn't do those old dances and those old two-steps that they used to. They couldn't go to the places, the bars sometimes. Yes, they hung at bars. They went to casinos. But they couldn't go in those places and do the things that they once did before. And so as the ravages of time were taking over and they were losing the ability to gather as often as they did, guess what happened? Grace stepped in. Grace said to them all that, listen, I watched you as you lived your life, and I accompanied you as you were living. And in the midst of that, I saw to it that no matter what tried to come nigh your dwelling, I preserved you. And I'm so appreciative of the fact that you enjoyed life to the degree that you did. But now I realize that life as you knew it is not how you want it. And so now as you are slowly but surely deteriorating, I'm stepping in to afford you access to the one thing. Although we thought that they loved and looked forward to a party more than anything else, what they really looked forward to was being reunited with their Creator. And so as time started to tick, and as it started to produce the evidence of the fact that they were edging closer to getting out of this place, God slowly but surely started to remove them one at a time. And it's come to my knowledge that not only has Mr. Harrell gone home, but Jean and Joycelyn has also gone home. But if you knew anything about the love relationship between Joseph, Mr. Harrell, and Mary, Miss Ethel, you understood this. They couldn't stand being apart from one another. And so Mr. Harrell said, listen, I'm going to do like Joseph in the Bible did. I'm going to exit the scene first. But when I exit the scene, I'm going to get up there before that dude we called our son. And I'm going to tell him, listen, bro, I need you to send for your mom so that she and I can be reunited. And Jesus said, you don't have to worry about that, Pops. You did a good job while you were in heaven, in earth. He said, but now she's on me. As a matter of fact, when he left, he said, since Joseph and he were gone, he turned to his disciple John and he said, I need you to care for my mama because I've fulfilled my destiny. And the day came when I promise you Mary closed her eyes. Contrary to what the Catholic Church wants to tell you, she had to go before that flippant son of hers and hear well done also. She was judged. But on the same note, I'm more than sure that when she got there, Joseph was standing waiting. And Jesus told Mama, come on in there. And there was a grand party that resumed. Let's not get it twisted. Death is always painful because that which we once loved and embraced and felt the warmth of, not just the warmth of their 98.5-degree body, but the warmth of the love that they had for each and every last one of us as it radiates not only then, still today. And it causes us to come to the point where we say, let's get closer together because of that which was given to us. But I promise you, it's the type of warmth and love that endures forever and ever and ever. So what I need people to stop doing when you're writing obituaries and you're talking about the deceased, those who have gone home, stop saying she was the parent of 5 children. Did your mama name change? So she's still your parent. Stop saying she was the grandmother. Stop saying she was the great-grandmother. Stop saying she was one of my best friends. Because life is not just measured in the amount of time that I have to. It's measured in what I do in that time and how I impact your life forevermore. Listen, y'all, that Bible that you have on your phone, all that is a letter. We don't care about the envelope. Matter of fact, this is mine. You can't read nothing on the cover because that's irrelevant. That just protects that which is the crux of. And I promise you, this woman has lived a life and she's written a letter and it's etched on your heart. All we are depositing is the envelope. The letter remains. And so every moment that you had with her, every opportunity that you spent with her, every memory that you have of her means that she is not dead unless you stop talking about her. I'll never stop talking about her. And in closing, this is what I like to close with. How many people in here remember Usain Bolt? Come on, y'all ain't that old. I need to see some hands. I ain't asked y'all to do much with me today. I did, but that's not it. Usain Bolt is still the world's fastest recorded man. He ran the 100-meter race at 9.69 seconds. Broke the record by 1.8 something seconds. And Usain Bolt came from a poor village in Jamaica. But his fame rose to such that all the people in his village were able to have hope restored no matter what type of impoverished condition they're in, because they said if he can rise from poverty, we can do it also. What do we have a tendency to do when we find heroes? We tend to mock them. So Usain Bolt is going home for the first time after winning a 100-meter and a 200-meter in Olympics and breaking the record. And he goes home and he goes into his village and nobody is there. And he said, where are all the people? They said they're at the track. So he goes to the track and all the people, hundreds of people are gathered there and they're shouting his name. Usain, Usain, Usain. And he's watching these children and these grown-ups as they're practicing track and they're lifting their knees up and they're running and they're getting loose. And now it comes a time when each individual at that track has a race. They get in the block and they're ready to run, and Usain finds it peculiar and strange that there is this old man who has shorts all the way up to his hips, socks pulled all the way up to his knees, old raggedy shoes, and an old beat-up wife beater with a number on it that can't be numbered. He watches as they get in the block, and they say, on your mark, get set, go. And each individual, because he races for each person one at a time, it's not an 8-man race. Each individual comes out the block, and they're halfway around the track, and the old man is still in the block. And so they think that this race is easy. And right before they get to the tape, they ease up, and the old man breaks the tape. And he looked, and each person is astounded by the fact that they can't believe they lost to this old man. Person after person, until every person in the village gets in the block, and each race is the same. They get out way ahead, but before they get to the tape, he breaks the tape. So now the whole village is despondent and they're heartbroken, and they feel like we're mad, we're sick, we can't stand him. Nobody has ever beat him in a race. Usain, could you please run and defeat him for us? And Usain said, listen, that would be beneath me. That man has to be 175 years old, and I'm amazed that y'all keep letting him beat y'all, but I won't lower myself to run this race with him. And the old man walks up to him and says, just humor me, son. Let's do one last race for the people. So Usain says, okay, but I'm under contract. I have endorsers. So I can't run any race without timing or clocking myself. So he said, put the clock in behind the tape so that I can see how fast I'm running. Say, okay, and they get down and they say, on your mark, get set, go, and the gun goes off, and Usain comes out of the gate, and he's running the fastest race that he's ever run, and he gets close to the tape, and he looks up, and he realizes, I'm under 9 seconds. But right before he breaks the tape, the old man breaks the tape. And Usain now is walking around in astonishment. He has his hands over his ears, and he's looking, and all the people in the village are despondent because their hero just lost to this same old man who's been defeating everybody in town. And the old man says to Usain, while he sees he's on the verge of tears, he says, why are you so sad, young man? He said, I'm the fastest man in the world. I just ran the fastest 100-meter I ever ran. And when I got out the gate, I was 3/4 of the way around the track finish. How is it that you broke the tape? The old man said, what's your name? He said, my name's Usain Bowie. You know me. I've broken all the records. I'm worldwide known. I have all the endorsements on every other commercial. He said, why are you laughing, old man? And what's your name? And the old man said, my name is Death. He said, and the biggest problem that everybody who races me, and the biggest mistake you make is you believe that I'll never catch you. So you get out the gate as a young individual and you never even reflect on the fact that I'm going to play a major part in your life. You go out living and you live your life in such rambunctious fashion that you never consider the possibility or the probability, much less the inevitability of the fact that I will factor in your life. And what happens the most is that you get to a certain juncture in the race of life where you ease up because you think you got this thing figured out. But eventually, I catch everybody. He said, no matter what village you go to, no matter what town, what city, what country, what continent, you will find that I'm defeating everybody. But one thing I can't say is that I'm undefeated. He said, because there was once a young man who was born in a manger, who I tried to get and catch before he even began his life. And yet, he came and he fulfilled something that no man on this earth can fulfill, or so I thought. He came and lived according to the manner in which God designed and desired him to live. He never got outside of God's will for his life, and as a result, I had no business breaking his tape. But he volunteered to die in your stead, and so that you can be able to enjoy his victory while he took upon your defeat. But those of you all who have come to know that young man in the manner in which you should know him, you will never be defeated by me. So the only people who are despondent when I show up are the ones who don't know him who gave them victory. See, the believer, we walk through death. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy, the heavenly entourage, shall follow me, not only all the days of my life, but even in the midst of this valley, so that when I come out on the other side, I know that I'm going to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I'm looking over this audience. I see a lot of people who are close to breaking the tape in your life. We tend to take for granted that we have tomorrow. I listened to my sister get up here and say, all you have is today. All you have is this moment. And if you don't make the most of this moment, and you haven't done so prior to this moment, I implore you, I beg you, I beseech you to get to know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. It's not by happenstance that this is taking place during Holy Week, where the most prominent and profound thing that has ever taken place in the life of a believer takes place according to mankind on this Sunday, when the body of our Lord and Savior Jesus comes back from the grave and he declares victory over death. Ethel May's not dead, y'all. To y'all, she might be, but she's forever with you. And I promise you this, there is not a time that you or anyone else, if you truly know the relationship she had with God, where your heart should be heavy. Did not itself start off by saying, let not your heart be troubled. If you believe in God, or if you believe in the God who Ethel May believed in, believe also in the Son who came by way of his Father, so that you will know that on that day, when it's your time, you will be where he is. Is everybody in here? Listen. Everybody ready to raise their hands fast? We know the Bible says believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, right? That's a Greek word. That's pisteo. It's P-I-S-T-E-O-U. That literally means, slow down, stop that for a second, because this is too important. That literally means that you believe in such a way that you embody that which you believe in. So it's not just the intellectual knowledge of knowing that he existed, because demons know that. It is coming to a place and point in time where you surrender all and you say, in him do I live, move, and have my being. Or better yet, in me does he live, move, and have his being, because I'm nothing without you. So is everybody in here now? Do you know him to that degree that when I look at you, I see Jesus, not the person who your parent named you? Because my mama named me bad. I had to get from under that. Everybody say, you got such a beautiful name, but say you don't know what it means. Jacob is what Jacques is. Deceiver, usurper, thief, cunning, conniving. I was all that. Thank God now we can use was appropriately. Because my name is not Jacob no more, it's Israel. Y'all will catch that another day when you go to church. Everybody in here saved? We all good? Stand to your feet. Now play something for me. Listen to me. I want you all to give the warmest welcome and appreciation to the one who lived her life in such a way that she sacrificed all like that. In the same manner in which we can stand to our feet, any dignitary came into this room, I want you all to honor, bow, and appreciate the dignitary that's exiting this room. Because this lady has done a phenomenal thing. And she is deserving of all the kudos that accompany doing phenomenal things in life. To her 5 children, I would say to you, legacy well lived, continue the legacy. To the grandchildren, I would say to you, get to know each other as the family is growing. I was trying to help you all understand, get to know each other in such a way so that on the day when you're standing in front of here, you can just call reciting names from the audience. Because we have a family, we've got a way of understanding the true importance, meaning, and blessing. But on this day, we salute you, Miss Ethel May. that soon as you come to the congregation, we already got the second line bed ready to bust out. And all they heard when she went in was dun 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 dun.